means that the number one pick in the 2021 NBA draft goes to the Detroit Pistons.
Who's got the number one pick in this year's draft? Who's got the number one pick in this year's draft?
Basketball!
Select Isaiah Stewart.
The Detroit Pistons select Killian Hayes.
Sadiq, that was absolutely sensational.
I don't know what went into that process. I met the criteria to be selected, but I wasn't.
From long range. Oh! Yes!
Detroit basketball!
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Palace of Pistons Podcast, brought to you by Believe. Aaron Johnson and Jasper Apollonia here with you. Jasper, we've got a lot to talk about today with the Pistons. We're kind of going to do a stock report on some of the guys on the roster so far. We're going to check the pulse, our pulses on Dwane Casey, and who knows what else we'll get into. We've always dive into some random stuff that we were always planning on talking about. Before we do that, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right, Aaron. You know what? I already have something that in prep for this show that already is grinding my gears, that's getting my goose. So I really quickly want to just say before we get into things here, NBA.com, how dare you? What they have one of the best statistics websites out there. When I started getting into writing, Aaron, I don't know what I would have done if it wasn't for the NBA.com stats, because they have so many tools on there, so many statistics, defensively, offensively, advanced stats, lineups, tracking, all that stuff. And over this offseason, they underwent a little change on their website. They redesigned some things. And what they did is they got rid of several advanced filters that basically make all this statistical information they have worthless. They have lineup data that you now can't filter out for minutes or search for specific players. So it's useless now. It's basically just an Excel sheet that you can't organize into anything. Man, that really irritated me because I came on here. I wanted to talk about some different statistics, some different lineups. And the NBA has now made it impossible for me, alongside their already just crap dog, whatever, I can't say it on the podcast, league pass product. So just real quick, I had to get that out of the way because, man, Adam Silver, get your stuff together, man.
Interesting.
What's the point of having these, like, all this data if we can't do anything with it? Anyway, sorry.
I was also looking at the lineup data for the Pistons, so I'm curious to see where this conversation goes. I'm excited to absolutely get into it. Before we do that, though, I want to talk about our sponsor every week, BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. And as basketball is back, the Pistons are back. Use BetOnline for your sports betting this year. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, players news, and game trends at BetOnline. And as your continued source for all sports wagering information, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports and events, whether that's NFL, NBA, NHL, MMA, tennis, boxing, or even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use our promo code BLEAV, BLEAV, to receive your rewards. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Aaron, can I start betting on did you know if BetOnline has props on whether your phone will go off during the podcast?
So
that's hit more than the Pistons covered last year.
It wasn't even like that was a spam message. I literally put the messages off going into a podcast because I'm like, I really don't want something to ring. Like I've muted like all my conversations on my computer just so it doesn't go off during the podcast. And of course, somehow I get a spam message and it's got a ding. Whatever. I think last week was the first week in forever that it didn't go off. And I was trying to keep calm about it, keep it quiet, just like see if we can make that the norm. No. But of course, people have other plans.
Smart bettors are are feeling great today. They've made their money back on the podcast already, so good for them.
All right. Let's get into it. What I wanted to do with this first topic is really kind of do a stock report, trending up, trending down, middling out with some of these guys on the Pistons roster. Jasper, I guess I would start with you. Let's start with someone that you feel is trending up on this team right now after the first 5 games of the season.
Well, it's got to be Bojan Bogdanovic, right? If there's one player that I think has given you everything that you wanted to see from them to start the season, it's him. There's been other players that have played well, but Bojan has been fantastic. There's no other way to look at it. He's averaging 23 points a game. That leads the team. He's shooting 53% from the floor, 51% from 3. He's hitting 4 threes per game right now, Aaron. Obviously defensively, there's been the weak spots. He's not getting you a lot of rebounds, and he's not an incredible playmaker, although he obviously knows what he's doing on the floor. But yeah, Bojan Bogdanovic has just been absolutely spectacular. There's been multiple games this season where he's gotten the Pistons back into the game. There's multiple games where he's basically been the only thing keeping them afloat. There's no other way to look at it right now. If the goal is to trade Bojan Bogdanovic at the trade deadline, or even beforehand, because don't forget the Pistons can move him whenever they want. They don't have to wait until December. If the goal is to move him, you're looking pretty good on that right now. You're looking at a pretty nice return because Bojan Bogdanovic has been absolutely spectacular offensively, both outside and honestly inside the arc as well.
Well, before I get into the player that is trending up for me, I guess I'll say right there that I pray to God the Pistons aren't planning on trading Bojan Bogdanovic anytime soon. The way that this team is playing, he is one of the only reasons why their offense, why this team maybe hasn't been relegated to the G League per Adam Silver's idea. I mean, this guy has been absolutely phenomenal. He's made the most 3-pointers this season. He's shooting 51% from beyond the arc. They should not be thinking about trading him right now. You see, like, I don't know, part of me is like, wow, you got a good player and he's helping you. Like, maybe you should go get more good players and not just trade away anyone that has any sort of value. And I feel like every year we're in the same situation where come the trade deadline, like last year with Jeremy Grant, we got to trade him. We got to try to get young assets, whether it's prospects or picks. It's like, I really hope that's not the same mindset this time around for Troy Weaver. Bojan Bogdanovic has a game that, what he does is very translatable, even as he ages. He is a shooter. When he puts the ball on the floor, it's very, methodical. It's thought out. He's not doing anything based off his athleticism or speed. He has a game that I think translates very well, even as he gets a little bit older. I'm not saying you need to pay him $70 million this offseason, but I certainly think you should try to hold on to him. He looks like a very valuable piece. He's helping this team a lot. Just wanted to get that off the bat real quick since you mentioned, and I'd seen on Twitter last night during the game, a lot of talk about, Bojan's going to get back a really nice return. The Pistons are going to get a first-round pick for Bojan Bogdanovic. My thoughts on that are let's just maybe slow down a little. It's been 5 games. He's helping this team out a lot, and I think he can continue to help this team. The guy for me that's trending up, Jaden Ivey. I didn't think a rookie like him was going to come in and be this productive in so many ways. As quickly as he has. He's quietly shooting 43% from the 3-point line. Sample size isn't huge through, 4 games for him, but he's taking 3.5 attempts per game. The shots have been, relatively good decision-wise. I'm not seeing him hoist a lot of ill-advised 3-pointers like I sometimes saw when he was at Purdue. The game for him, his speed, he's playing at a very, very good pace right now. He's averaging under 3 turnovers a game for how much he has the ball in his hands. Playing 31 minutes a night. I don't think that that's too shabby whatsoever. He's moved the ball very well, to give him credit as well. So he has averaged, just under 3 turnovers a game. He's averaging 5.5 assists per game to coincide that. He's scoring the ball pretty efficiently. And I've just been really, really happy with what he's done through 5 games. I knew he was going to have a significant role on this team. I didn't think it would look this clean this early in the season, but it has. And I've been really, really encouraged with what he's done. I think you look at how the top of this rookie class has fared, and obviously Paolo Banchero has commanded a ton of the attention for how phenomenal he has been in Orlando. And you've seen some other guys like Benedict Mathurin get some praise for what he's doing in Indiana. But I'm telling you, Jaden Ivey's quietly having a really, really good first week of the season for Detroit, and I'm excited to see where that goes, considering he looks this comfortable this early in his career.
I'm glad you said about the 3-pointers because you're totally right. Look, I don't think he's going to be a 43% 3-point shooter when it's all said and done, but you're completely correct. The process on those threes has been really good. They've been smart shots. A thing with like Killian Hayes, for example, is a lot of the times you're like, oh, okay, I want to see him put up threes, but the threes that he's taking stink. They're horrible threes. Like he pulls up and you're like, no. With Jaden Ivey, even coming in and having a little bit of questions about his shot, I've not seen any of those threes go up and been like, oh, that's a bad shot. Oh, that's not a shot you should be taking. And they look good coming out of his hands as well. So it was a thing at Purdue. He shot better from the further back he got. That's something that we knew coming into this season, but you're totally right. He has been so good. His speed is just otherworldly. I mean, really, honestly, John Morant might be faster than him. Might be. Who else? Like Jaden Ivey might be the fastest player in the NBA as a rookie. And because I haven't seen anyone so far that can stay in front of him or even come close to staying in front of him when he has a full head of steam. The creation also has been fantastic. And a big part of that has come with the fact that no one can stay in front of him. So he's been collapsing defenses, being able to kick the ball out to open shooters, being able to create plays for others. I'm really interested to see what happens when Marvin Bagley comes back, because Jaden Ivey definitely with a bouncy bounce guy that's good stuff right there. Yeah, he's been great, Aaron. He's been all that was advertised, and honestly, maybe even a little bit more through the first week of the season.
Wouldn't disagree with you there. I mean, like I said, I didn't expect him to look this comfortable this early in this big of a role. He's been great. Who's been trending down for you so far this year?
Well, when your team is last in the NBA in net rating at almost minus 11 points per 100 possessions, which is abysmal. There's a lot of candidates for this. I would have to say so far, Aaron, just picking one is difficult, but I'll go with Isaiah Stewart. I haven't been very impressed with Isaiah Stewart so far. The 3-point shot last night, especially against the Atlanta Hawks, was to the detriment of the team. He took a couple of threes at the end of that game that just were not shots that needed to be taken in a winnable close contest. And him forcing them up was just not good. Around the rim, he's been as bad as ever. I mean, actually, he's been worse, if anything. He's never been great around the rim. He's not ever been a spectacular finisher, but this year it's been worse than ever. He can't finish anything by the rim. A couple games ago, I believe it was the Indiana game. No, sorry, it was the I'm sorry, who did they just play 2 nights ago? The Washington game. I swear to God, must have missed about 5 assists from Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey. Just easy dump off passes, wide open, and the guy can't convert right by the rim. It's been really rough to see. Defensively, he's been fine, but overall, it's just not good enough. And right now, Isaiah Stewart, we had a lot of questions about him coming into this year. You know, where is he going? Is he even a starter? Is he even a center? Right now, I'm looking at it, and this to me is not a player that is a starter. A player that we didn't mention is trending up. Jalen Duren has, I think, solidly outplayed him so far. And not just outplayed him, but he also brings more to the team in terms of what his skill set provides, that he's able to elevate the players around him. And it's not a surprise that Cade Cunningham with Isaiah Stewart on the floor has a negative net rating, and with Jalen Duren has a positive one, because that ability to get up, dunk the ball, do a lot of different things. And honestly, he's provided better rim protection than Isaiah Stewart has so far. Yeah, he's made mistakes, but at least he's able to get up there for blocks. at least he's able to finish around the rim on lob attempts. Isaiah Stewart, for me, I don't want to say it's been surprising because I'm not shocked to see him kind of play like this, but it's definitely been disappointing. And I'm hard pressed to take a lot of positives from his game right now.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I was going to say Isaiah Stewart. I thought you were going to go in a different direction.
I can go in a lot of different directions, Aaron. There's plenty of candidates.
You absolutely could. You absolutely could. But he's just, from a lot of the stuff you said, he just doesn't help this team offensively. He's not a floor spacer. The 3-point shooting, he's at 18% right now. He's not a play finisher. You mentioned he misses 8 to 10 points a game easily on just not being able to finish around the rim because he doesn't put himself in the right position. He's not big enough to just go up and dunk it, and he doesn't have enough touch to put it off the glass. I mean, you saw it last night, in the loss last night. He got the ball down low and he wasn't in a position to score. He just kind of threw it up at the rim and he got fouled, but it wasn't even a real shot attempt. It was just, let me get into shooting motion. I'm not going to be able to score this. I don't have the size advantage. I don't have the touch. I don't have the vertical to get up and just put it over this guy. I mean, he is cratering their offense because teams don't have to guard him on the outside, and he's not making them pay as the roll man in Detroit's pick and roll offense. So he's absolutely destroying the team offensively for a team that's already not shooting the ball well enough from outside the arc, especially in the starting lineup. And then you bring him out there and he's not able to finish down low for you as well. This team has also been a bad rebounding team so far this year. Detroit's in the bottom half of the league in offensive rebounds allowed per game. I don't think that's a coincidence. Stewart in Detroit don't have a good rebounding group out there. Obviously, you look at a center, you look in Detroit's past, a staple of them being able to rebound was Andre Drummond. He was so big, commanded the glass on both sides of the court. Stewart doesn't do that. Someone like Duren, you envision with all the comparisons he's gotten to Drummond, being able to eventually do that successfully. And, coinciding with Stewart trending down, Duren has trended up for some of the things that Stewart can't do. He's more of a play finisher. He's defending the rim better, as you mentioned. But the guy that I'm going to go with as trending down, and I actually thought you were going to go with him, is Killian Hayes. I mean, he's made 5 shots this year in, just about 90 minutes played, under 17% from the floor, under 17% from the 3-point line. The game just has not gotten any easier for him. He's missing layups. He's not taking great shots. I just don't have anything really positive to say about him. The team looks better with Corey Joseph leading the show off the bench, which isn't great. I mean, all things considered, Corey Joseph is leading the league in 3-point shooting percentage right now. That's actually funny. The Pistons have the most efficient 3-point shooter in the league right now in Corey Joseph at 62.5%. And they have the player with the most 3-pointers made this year in Bojan Bogdanovic. That will not continue to be a trend for this team because the shooting just never sticks with Detroit. But getting back to Killian Hayes, he just has not been anything positive this year. And that is just so disappointing. I thought there was going to be such an opportunity for him with this second unit. Granted, they are missing, some guys that would probably help him in terms of being able to finish off some plays, assist in some scoring, and Alec Burks and Marvin Bagley. But even so, the shots that he's taking, the decisions that he's making have not been good, and the shooting percentages have coincided with that exactly. So he's absolutely trending down for me. It's unfortunate. I was hoping, this would be a better version of Killian Hayes heading into year 3, but that's not been the case whatsoever. And I think more and more people by the day are losing hope in Killian Hayes' development as a player.
Yeah, I mean, look, Aaron, I didn't pick him because how can you trend down from 0? Honestly, how can you trend down from nothing? He's already arguably the worst rotation player in the NBA last year. So for me, I couldn't really pick him in all good faith. But yeah, last night he hit a couple shots, and then that's the thing with him. It's like we've been talking about how he needs more confidence. But even when he does play with quote unquote more confidence, it doesn't come across as confidence. It comes across as desperation. Like he hit a couple shots and then he keeps forcing shots. And it's just like, no, just calm down. Play your game. A lot of the things that I thought he did well last year, especially defensively in terms of taking care of the ball, distribution, stuff like that. I don't even think he's done a very good job with it this year. So yeah, 100%. Killian Hayes, really disappointing. I mean, is he even disappointing? I guess it's just expected at this point, to be completely honest. Yeah, it's been a really rough start so far. You're totally right, though. They need Alec Burks back. Marvin Bagley, they need back. We already saw, I had people asking me, this bench is so bad. How are Isaiah Livers and Alec Burks really going to turn it around? And I was like, just look at what Isaiah Livers did last night alone. Like, he can hit 3-point shots. That instantly makes their bench so much better. And that bench was actually able to stay competitive with the Hawks. I don't think it was a surprise that Isaiah Livers had a really good game, had 12 points last night, and the Pistons also played the Hawks very competitively. I don't think that was a surprise at all. I'm glad you brought up, actually, to bring it back to the Isaiah Stewart thing, I'm glad you brought up the rebounding thing because, look, I love what Bojan has brought to this team, and I think that the move on from Jeremy Grant, bringing him in and acquiring Jalen Duren, I think that worked out very well for Detroit. However, defensively and in terms of rebounding, I think that losing Jeremy Grant has really, really hurt them, especially in that starting lineup. And I think that it's exposed Isaiah Stewart a little bit because without Jeremy Grant's ability to come over as a help side rim protector, without his ability to crash the boards occasionally, I know he didn't do a great job of it in Detroit, but he was able to rebound. I think losing that in their lineup and replacing it with somebody like Bojan Bogdanovic, who is not a rebounder, he's only averaging 3.5 rebounds per game this year, and he's certainly not a rim protector. I think that has taken quite a toll on the Pistons defense and their rebounding numbers so far this year. So that's also something you have to look into when it comes to Isaiah Stewart is, if he is a center, do you need to pair him with another big man who can rebound at the power forward position? And if so, what does that look like? So a lot of questions surrounding this team. And unfortunately, a lot of the answers that we're coming up with right now are not good ones. They're not ones that make you hopeful. Although, look, I want to push back on some of the narrative that is saying that this team is completely dead in the water. Look, we knew they were probably going to split those Orlando Indy games. And they haven't lost to anyone really that you wouldn't expect them to lose to. So I think you get back Alec Burks, you get back Marvin Bagley, you get more Isaiah Livers healthy. I think that the outlook of this team can change a little bit. I'm not saying they're winning 40 games, but people need to calm down just a smidge on the doom and gloom.
I do think the bench can kind of tread water. I really do. I mean, the Killian Corey, Hamidou Diallo, Kevin Knox, Duren 5-man unit that we saw for the first 3-4 games was -8 plus minus. Once they added in Livers for Knox, they were -1 in terms of plus minus. So I think you add in Alec Burks, you get Marvin Bagley back, you're able to have a couple different options. I think the bench could hold its own. I just don't know if it's. I think it really will depend on how good Alec Burks actually is, and for this team relying that much on Alec Burks, that is a scary, scary proposition.
Well, I mean, Aaron, look, the Knicks made it to the playoffs two years ago, and Alec Burks was probably their second best player, offensively speaking, behind Julius Randle. So I don't think it's that scary of a proposition just to say, hey, Alec Burks, buoy our bench. I don't think that's crazy. I don't think that's an unrealistic expectation whatsoever, to be completely honest. I think you have the tools with Isaiah Livers and Marvin Bagley. You have guys who can play, and especially Jalen Duren. For me, I'm not too worried about it. I'm actually pretty confident that Alec Burks can come back and really change this bench unit's offensive capabilities with his off-the-dribble ability, and especially with his shooting. Because like you said, Corey Joseph, percentage-wise, is the number one shooter in the NBA. And Bojan Bogdanovic, in terms of makes, is the number one shooter in the NBA. And the Pistons are still, drum roll please, 16th in three-point percentage for the year. So you need somebody who can come in there and give you high-volume, high percentage 3-point shooting. I think Alec Burks is absolutely that guy.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We really haven't heard anything on Alec Burks as of late either, so we really don't have any sort of ideal time frame on when he's supposed to be back. Haven't seen Nerlens Noel this year either. He
was on the bench.
Played though, and then Marvin Bagley probably still a few weeks out. Haven't gotten an update on him yet since the team initially announced a 3 to 4 week timetable for him. All right, let's move into our middling players here. The guy that really hasn't been great, but hasn't necessarily been bad enough to trend downward. I think a lot of the guys on this team have trended downward. I think we might have the same guy for who's been kind of middling so far this year. Who's your pick?
I think we certainly are going to have the same guy here, and that's because you're 100% right. He basically hasn't gotten better. He basically hasn't gotten worse since his rookie year. It's Cade Cunningham. He had a really nice game last night, at least a really great first half. He's not great in the second half. He really looked like he ran out of steam. The numbers are fine. 20 points per game, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, a little over a steal. But the efficiency, once again, is not great. Shooting 40% from the floor overall, 32% from 3. I think more worrying is that he's shooting 42% or 43% from 2-point range, and that's not great. Basically, his efficiency is the same as it was last year. He's getting to the line a little bit more than he did last season, but it's still not really enough. Yeah, man, he's had a hard time, I think, adjusting to the addition of Jaden Ivey just a little bit and kind of figuring out exactly how much of the reins he needs to take, how much he needs to let Jaden have. And I don't think that it was a surprise to anybody that last night was his best night so far, because without Jaden Ivey in the lineup, he was the guy that absolutely had to take control of the game. And we saw it in the first half. He was fantastic. 22 points. I mean, the Hawks just couldn't stop him. But then in the second half, you saw a lot of the things that make you a little bit worried. The turnovers, again, very bad. 4 turnovers per game this year, and he had some really bad ones last night. The lack of athleticism at times. You know, he got a jumper blocked. He had a couple layups blocked. He's had multiple shots blocked this year that, you know, you can just see it's because he has a lack of lift near the rim. So for me, I'm not hitting the panic button, not even close. This is still a guy that absolutely has a sick handle that can murder guys in the mid-range. And we saw last night in the first half that when he gets cooking, he's really, really, really hard to stop for any team. And it's not like he was going up against a bum in DeJounte Murray. That's one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. But overall, it's been a mixed bag from Cade. It's kind of been a lot of the same from last year. And I think for us, especially saying that we wanted to see that leap, I know I got a lot of flack for saying I thought he was the player that had the most to prove this year. You know, is he really good or is he that superstar? People push back on me for saying that, but this is exactly it. Like, how much higher is the ceiling? How much further does he have to go? Right now, you're not seeing a whole lot more of that ceiling than you did last season. You know, I'm not hitting the panic button, but it's definitely not encouraging so far through 5 games.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I am in the same boat as you. I have Cade Cunningham as my guy that's been very middle of the pack this year. I do have a statistic, though, that I wanted to mention. I'm not sure if this includes last night's game against Atlanta. This might have only counted the first 4 games of the year. But Cade Cunningham's net rating, or the Pistons' net rating with Cade Cunningham on the floor is minus 3.91. Their offensive rating, 116.37. That's in 133 minutes that Cade Cunningham was on the court. In the 59 minutes that Cade Cunningham has not been on the court, the Pistons' net rating is negative 30.28 with an offensive rating of 87.6. So Cade Cunningham has not been great by any stretch of the imagination this year, but he still is absolutely vital to this team's central nervous system. He is the heart of this team in terms of leading this offense. He is still a big part of the defense. I will say, I think defensively, he is a little bit more competitive this year. I think a little bit of that is just attributed to him really spending some time in the offseason, adding some strength, which I think has coincided with maybe him not being as efficient of a shooter as we would have hoped. The jump shot looking a little bit flatter, as some people have pointed out. I think he's maybe still trying to adjust to that. Cade's not been great this year. This team still absolutely needs him, and I think he's a guy I'm not worried about. A lot of people, are talking about, Isaiah Stewart, Killian Hayes, like these guys, I really don't know about them, and that's fine. I agree with that. But this talk about, Cade Cunningham's a bust because he had four games were a little rough at the beginning of his second year in the league, after having as good of a rookie season as he did last year, was just absolutely, for lack of a better term, crazy for me to hear. I'm not worried about Cade. Hopefully the first game against Atlanta in that back-to-back, a step in the right direction. He hasn't been great efficiency-wise. It should get better. Hopefully, Jaden Ivey's able to get healthy. Alec Burks comes back. This team's going to get some of their better pieces back. And that should help Cade Cunningham as well. Not worried about him, but he has been a little underwhelming. Not necessarily downward trending. The Atlanta game certainly helped save him from being put in that category. But he has not been great either. So I at least am expecting a lot more. I know you are as well, Jasper, from Cade Cunningham. We'll see if that changes as the season progresses for Detroit.
Definitely. And I'm glad you said that about his defense, because I tweeted about it last night. I didn't get home till real late to watch that replay. But defensively, especially the last two games, I've been really impressed with him as an on-ball defender. I mean, we already know he's great at help defense. Like, his ability to read the court defensively is spectacular. It was last year, still is this year, but his on-ball defense has been great. He's been so good at staying in front of his guys defensively, whether he's getting back down or playing against a guy facing up. I've been super impressed with him, keeping his shoulders square, moving his feet really, really intelligently. His positioning has just been amazing over the last two games. Yeah, like I said, I haven't been very happy about the offensive part of the game for him. But defensively, I think he's just been really, really good. And offensively, yeah, you're totally right. Like, while his individual offense hasn't been what we want it to be in terms of efficiency, there's a reason the Pistons are plus 18.4 with his on-off splits. I mean, that's wild. That's just really, really big. He is the guy that makes it all work. He's the straw that stirs the drink. Unfortunately, right now, the drink is dead last in net rating in the NBA, but still, at least with Cade Cunningham, it's liquid in the cup. With everybody else on the floor, I don't know, we're drinking concrete milkshakes, man.
Few minutes left here. Wanted to take this time to get kind of your pulse check on Dwane Casey. I think a lot of people after this 1-4 start to the year have grown skeptical of Casey as being the guy, being the coach for this team. I certainly have some reservations about how he's managed the roster so far this year. What have you thought of the job that Dwane Casey's done so far with the Pistons this season?
I haven't really seen anything for me that I didn't already know what Dwane Casey was. Like, what's different? Why are people saying that Dwane Casey is trending down? He's still Dwane Casey. All bench lineups, he's always done that. He always wants to switch defensively. Offensively, like, I don't really see what about this is surprising to anybody. I don't think he's done a great job. But I do think he's certainly done a better job over the last couple games, especially last night with Jaden Ivey out. People talk about staggering the bench. Well, he did a good job of staggering the bench. Yes, there were a few minutes with all bench lineups in there, but he left Isaiah Livers on the floor, after the other bench guys had come out. He left Cade on the floor as well as Saddiq Bey with the rest of the bench. I thought he did an okay job there. It hasn't been great, but he also is dealing with injuries across the board. I mean, he hasn't had Alec Burks healthy. He hasn't had Marvin Bagley healthy. Didn't have Jaden Ivey last night. Didn't have Isaiah Livers for several games. Yeah, I think that there are certainly criticisms to be made of the job that he's done, but has it been a total disaster class? Is he the reason they're losing all these games? I don't feel comfortable putting that all on his head. Players have to play. And when the players you're given are Kevin Knox and Hamidou Diallo, you're you're going to have issues. I mean, when you're big men, you either have Isaiah Stewart, who can't score, or Jalen Duren, who's still learning, who's a rookie. I don't really know what else as a coach you can do to alleviate those issues. I'm not going to give him an F. I'm not going to give him an A. I think I'd give him probably like a C- right about now. There's definitely issues. There are schematic fixes, but overall, I don't really know how much else he's supposed to do differently to fix the problems the Pistons have right now.
Yeah, he's certainly playing with a bum hand. I mean, Alec Burks, Marvin Bagley, Nerlens Noel, Jaden Ivey in the game against Atlanta. He certainly had some guys missing that would be rotation players for them. No doubt about it, if they were healthy. At the same time, I look at these lineups, and I mean, at some point, Dwane Casey's just got to know. You cannot put Killian Hayes, Hamidou Diallo, Kevin Knox, and Jalen Duren on the court together and expect anything good to come from it. There's got to be knowledge that you're gonna have to stagger, and it came a little bit in Atlanta. I still thought down the stretch late, they didn't bring back
Isaiah Livers.
And they didn't bring back Isaiah Livers, who were both playing good basketball.
No, that was ridiculous. 2 minutes left, and it's like you're about to lose the game, and then Isaiah Livers comes back in. I'm like, for Corey Joseph, I'm like, what are you doing? Just leave him in the game. Don't take him out at all.
Exactly. Yeah, these are young kids, right? These are not, this is not a veteran team, 35-year-olds. Like, they can play 15 minutes. Like, they can go for 15 straight minutes.
I'm going to D+. I'm changing my grade, D+. That pissed me off last night.
Just for that alone.
That was BS. Leave Isaiah Livers in the game. You need the shooting. And you need the defense. What are you?
Isaiah Livers played a major part in the Pistons being in a competitive mode last night. Cade had a great first half, but that second half where Cade wasn't as good, obviously Bogdanovich was phenomenal, but Isaiah Livers was right up there in terms of his shot making, his defense. But there's just got to be a realization, like, look, when I've got my guys, I need to essentially have Cade or Ivy on the court at any point in time. And I need to have Sadiq Bey or Boyan out there if I'm going to play a majority bench lineup, because I need more scoring threats. He hasn't really tried Duren and Stewart together. He's talked about, we've got to be careful. We don't want to get them, we don't want to have to worry about fouls. I mean, at least last night, and I think in the Washington game as well, neither of them were in foul trouble, and there were clear opportunities as his team was getting slaughtered on the glass to go a little bit bigger, and he just doesn't. And like, if this team is already bad, you might as well start trying out some things that you spent all offseason talking about needing to do. You talked about needing to figure out a foundation, needing to figure out if Stewart and Duren were going to be able to play together, if Stewart could be a 4 and Duren could be the 5, and they'd be able to play together. And you haven't even tried it. You've tried it for a few minutes. You had opportunities in the last 2 games to do it. Neither of them in foul trouble. Both of them playing, playing at least somewhat productive. Duren was great yesterday off the bench once again, and you didn't even try it. A lot of my issues with Dwane Casey stem from his rotation decisions. I understand he's in a tough spot. He's got some key guys hurt. I get that. The lack of creativity offensively and the rotation management has just been abysmal to me so far this year. He's certainly in the D range for me right now. I'm not putting this, I'm not going to start talking about how great this team would look with Mike D'Antoni or Quinn Snyder as the next head coach of the Pistons. I guess we can save that for next week's show when the Pistons are 1-12. But not been great for Dwane Casey so far. However, the caveat is, he's playing with a real bum hand right now, and I will recognize that as well.
Yeah, I think that's the only reason it's not like an F right now is like, they haven't, they faced some tough teams other than Indiana. That was a bad loss. Other than that, like, I don't know how much different the outcomes would look even if he did.
Aaron, I know we have
these
to wrap
lineups
here
a little
but
bit differently. Even
look,
if
I just want to say,
I don't
different.
look.
Think
I'll give him credit. Playing Jaden Ivey 31 minutes a game,
necessarily
given Jalen
any better or worse. Than
we've talked about Nerlens
really
Noel, and I know we have
them
to
to
wrap
coming out of the
things up,
gate.
but I will say,
I think maybe a little bit worse.
Obviously,
He was on the bench
a bit more
he
from
looked
them, but
incredibly
the bench
depressed.
has really hurt
I
them
don't
so
know
far
if
this
Nerlens
year.
Noel is in
Look,
Dwane
overall,
Casey's,
like this is a team I think we
lineups.
need to moving
Preach
forward.
a little
I
bit
don't
of caution
really know
with,
what's
a little
going
bit of
on there. I
patience
really
with.
love some clarification.
You need Alec Burks back
because to
you
me,
need to
last night
have
seems like
some
a
of these
game they
pieces
really
in
could have
order to
used
make it
Nerlens
work.
Noel, even for just
But as of right now,
10 minutes.
I just want to push back on a
he was
little
glued to the bench
bit
so
of the Pistons
I don't really know
fans
what's
saying
going
like,
on there.
oh,
That
hey,
is something I
this
want to keep
team's
my
sort
eye
of
on.
disaster.
Oh, we need to trade everybody. I think if you guys were expecting a record much different from the one that they have right now, I think you came into the season with the wrong expectations. They're going to lose a lot of games this year, and we already knew that. So for me, I just want to say that, like, no, it's not been great. It needs to get better. But at the same time, this was always going to be a losing season, and I think people need to just be a little bit more cognizant of that fact. Be a little bit more realistic with their expectations.
Well, it's going to be tough for him to do that, Jasper, because the schedule's coming up. The schedule coming up is just brutal, and I legitimately think this team might be 1-12.
We told people they were gonna have a bad record, like going into this West Coast trip. We said there was a legitimate chance they win 2 of their first 12 games.
Their hope was to come out of the year playing, Orlando, Indiana, try to take one from Atlanta. You get Washington. Like, there are some teams that you could compete, you could win against. Now it becomes murderer's row because after the second game of the Atlanta back-to-back, they have a back-to-back against Golden State and Milwaukee. They'll play Cleveland. It's going to be brutal for them, and it's going to get ugly. This team still isn't healthy. We don't know when Alec Burks is coming back. We don't know what's going on with Nerlens Noel. We don't know where Marvin Bagley's at in terms of where he will be. I would expect Jaden Ivey will be back for the Atlanta game. He missed with a non-COVID illness. It'll have been a few days, so I expect he'll be back. But that would be another crucial loss for Detroit if he's still out. But it's only going to get uglier from here. That's the unfortunate part for Detroit, unless they really pull off some magic, because this schedule coming up is absolute murderer's row.
It's going to be rough, Aaron. It's going to be really rough, but it is what it is at this point. If you get back Alec Burks soon, hopefully, knock on wood, maybe things look up a little bit. But yeah, man, it's going to be rough. And we told people it was going to be rough. Things might get a little bit easier, but the East is a really, really strong conference this year, and there's going to be some really ugly games. So just buckle up. Enjoy the good things. Enjoy the fact that Jalen Duren and Jaden Ivey both look like absolute keepers. They look like they both could be, starters, studs for this team moving forward. That's a really good thing. Just, you got to find the positives in this, because wins and losses are not going to be where you're going to find them.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are starting to certainly understand that with this team. An interesting week ahead for the Pistons. We'll see how they look against some of the top teams in the NBA.
Don't worry, Aaron. Giannis is only 33 for his last 46 shot attempts from the floor. I'm sure the Pistons are going to do great against him. I can't wait for that one. Ooh.
Yeah, Bojan Bogdanović guarding Giannis is going to be a real treat.
Oh God! Oh no!
All right, we got to stop.
Oh no!
Stop there. We will see you guys on next week's edition of the Palace of Pistons podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to follow us on our socials. Check out our website, palaceofpistons.com. Support us in any way you possibly can. We certainly appreciate it. Thank you to Believe and Bet Online for making this week's episode possible. We will see you guys next week here on the Palace of Pistons podcast. Take care, everyone.